we're wrapping up our kind of educational institution series of financial literacy. Of course, we know education is a key component into making sure that you have the finances that you need to support yourself, to support your family and your community. So it's important that you know all your educational options. In the past, we've talked about colleges and the types of colleges there are, how to pay for them, where to find funding for them, the benefits of going to college. We also spoke about continuing education opportunities, which can be college, it can be certificate programs, classes that you would take to better yourself, to better your house for your personal betterment, maybe cooking classes or parenting classes, or for your professional development, something that will help you include a skill on your resume or to better your position in your current job or even to get a better job. And so now we're looking at trade schools. These are the questions that we're going to look to answer today. What are trade schools? What are some trades taught at trade schools? What is the difference between trade schools and colleges? Where do you go to find a trade school? How do you pay for trade schools? And then we'll talk about whether or not trade schools are for you. As always, feel free to put any questions in the chat, or if it's super important, feel free to raise your hand or unmute and ask the question. So, what are trade schools? They're also known as vocational schools. You might hear them called technical schools. Some people put them together, VOTEC, vocational technical schools. Sometimes they're apprenticeship programs. Trade schools are post-secondary education places, meaning that they're after high school. And that's super important because many of them require high school. And they didn't always. Sometimes you could be trained in a particular skill and not need a high school diploma, but now they all require high schools, American high school diplomas. Um, but they are places where you can get hands-on training to prepare you for the actual work in the children's field. Trade school skills can be after attending colleges or universities. So if you think about med school, medical school, or going to law school after you get your bachelor's degree, those are kind of considered specific to that trade, though they're continuing within the university model. Or they can be part of just continuing education and building you as an adult, or they can just be standalone because you want to enter a new field. But virtually all trade schools are private. You would be hard pressed to find a state run trade school, or a federally run trade school. They're typically owned by someone, which is why kind of monitoring how much they cost and things like that, and even where you can get your funding from, that it varies and changes a lot from what the colleges and universities would do. But we'll talk about funding in a minute. Also, you got to know that not all of them are accredited. So what does accredited mean? It simply means that there's an outside organization or body of that says that this particular school meets the standard of this industry, and that what you do at this school will carry through to something else. So, for example, medical. If you go to a medical trade school, there's a lot of them that are not accredited. And then when people decide, oh, I've been a medical assistant for 5 years, and now I want to go and go to school for nursing, all of these, the work that I did with this trade school would go to nursing, and then that college or that nursing program looks and they say, no, this didn't come from an accredited school, so we can't take any of those, and you got to start over again. So that accredited thing is very important. And this is kind of where trade schools just, you have to be knowledgeable about what you're looking for and kind of the questions to ask. Just know they're private, so there's not that kind of demand on accountability. And so you want to look for one that's accredited, preferably so that you know somebody is holding them to some standard. So that's what trade schools are. Can you name, either in the chat or unmute yourself, and name some trades that you feel may require a trade school? I kind of leaked one out already by saying nursing or medical billing. What do you think some trades that will require a trade school as opposed to maybe going to college or some other program? What are some trades?
Electrician, plumbing,
Electrician,
plumbing.
plumbing, yes.
Do they have ones for roofing and all those things?
Roofing, yes.
House repair.
Uh-huh, yes. All areas of construction, absolutely. Very good.
Like mechanical school?
Mhm. For cars as well as for trucks and
Yeah.
anything that functions mechanically like yes, absolutely. Anything else? Oh,
Cybersecurity and IT.
cybersecurity,
Okay.
computer stuff, yes,
Yeah.
yes, very good. All of those and more. Culinary, uh, if you want to become a line cook or a sous chef or even a master or even a chef at some point, private or working for a restaurant or hospitality industry, mechanical, as you see here, nursing. In this case, this is somebody who's trained to do CPR. And certify others to do CPR. You'll find that in a lot of places that you go in businesses that they require, especially if you interact with the public. For example, as teachers, we kind of are required to know CPR and we have to re-up our certification. I believe it's every 4 years or something like that. So that's a big industry. And then you see here, I believe that's carpentry that he's working with. So you are correct. There are a lot of them, and of many of them, there are some that are in higher demand than others. And here are some of them: those that are in the healthcare and social assistance. So that could be anything from medical billing and coding to a medical assistant to a home health aide. Those can all fall under that. Construction, that's everything from buildings to street work, anything concerning the construction industry. Manufacturing, that's where you build things. And so, of course, things are becoming more and more technologically advanced. And so, where it would have been, hey, we're going to make this car, and you have an assembly line of people who are putting parts of the car together. Now you kind of need an assembly line of people who know how to work the robots that put the cars together, but it's still manufacturing or making something. Trucking is huge. That's another one of those industries where not only can you make money working for somebody, but you can also enjoy the flexibility of working for yourself if you own your own truck and you're an owner operator for somebody like Amazon or UPS. Um, Bookkeeping, accounting, and auditing. We know certain times of the year, those people are in high demand. Every March, April, May for the late people who are doing their taxes. That's an area that's in high demand. Veterinary technology, people who do sonograms on the pets, those who are even groomers, dog groomers and cat groomers who shave and wash the dogs. Dog walkers don't necessarily require a schooling for that, but the higher you get in that particular area, the more schooling you require. Food services, we just talked about culinary work. Computer support, which is what Raul was referring to when you talk about IT, from everything from troubleshooting if somebody doesn't know what's going on with a particular software on their computer, or maybe their computer has frozen, or this particular system has crashed, all the way up to cybersecurity, where you are working security for other organizations or even for the government. And the interesting thing about computer support is that's another one of those industries that you can work from home. If I call Microsoft right now and say, hey, my system's not working, they'll take my IP address, the address to my computer, and they'll jump in from wherever they are in the world and take control of my screen and kind of figure out what's going on. And it's weird kind of sitting back and watching your arrow just move on its own. But that's what those types of industries can kind of teach you to do. Dental care, dental hygienist, of course, the higher you get in this particular area, if you're trying to be a dentist, that's a different path than somebody who may be a dental hygienist and just work and do cleanings. Hairstylist and cosmetologist, that's everything from somebody who does hair to, nails. You'd be an esthetician for those who want to do skin care, and of course, auto servicing, which oil changes all the way up to a master mechanic. So these are some of the most high demand ones today, but they by no means are the only trades that are available to people. There are also bartending uh, when the world opens up again and, and people go out to restaurants or cars or local bars. That bartender, there's trade schools that you can go to become bartenders, and not just somebody who kind of takes the order and pours, but there's a whole field of mixologists, is what they call them, who understand the science behind this acid with this fruit, with this amount of sugar, with this, and add liquid nitrogen to make it foam and flow and all types of crazy things. Personal training for those who are interested in the fitness field, you can be trained, and that's another one of those fields where you can go work for somebody like a Planet Fitness and be their trainer on staff, or you can become your own entrepreneur and kind of get your own clients and work at your own pace, which is great if you have kids or have a crazy hectic schedule or just want to do it part time. As I mentioned, dog groomers, massage therapists can kind of fall under that cosmetology area, but that's becoming a really high demand field because people are trying to get more and more off of having to take prescription drugs, and they're looking for holistic remedies. So they're looking for therapeutic massagers to get themselves through arthritis, as well as massages for athletes who want to be at the top of their performance level. So that's another one. Now, these last two are ones that people don't know much about because they're not pushed often. And in some areas, they're kind of more in certain parts of the country than others. And then people sometimes want to do certain things. But hazardous waste removal is a huge field, and you get paid a lot because it's hazardous. So hazardous, of course, means dangerous. So the people who go and collect the dirty syringes or the used needles from doctor's office and things like that, or clean up oil spills or toxic chemicals out of our lakes and our streams. Those are things that not everybody wants to get their hands dirty or put themselves in a dangerous situation where they might bring home something. So not a lot of people think of that, but it is a very much growing industry that always needs people. Wind turbine technicians. So there's a lot of push to find other things to use as power as opposed to just gas and oil, which we know the challenges behind that. You've got to get it up out the ground. You've got to move it. Well, if you move it and you can have a big oil spill and contaminate entire parts of the environment, there's just a lot of danger to it. And so they're looking at electricity and different ways to generate electricity. So wind turbines, if you've ever seen them, they're those giant tall things with these big windmills. And all it does is take the wind that nature provides and it harnesses electricity for a community. These are one of those things that's kind of specific to a particular area of the country. There's not a lot of wind turbines out here, though there are a lot of solar panel installers out here, which is another area and another trade that you can consider. So these are just some trades. Some are more popular than others. Some perhaps you've never heard of, but they all require a type of education behind them. You can't just decide, hey, I'm going to go start pouring people some gin tomorrow and call myself a bartender, because you don't know how much is toxic, how much, what, how much, how many ounces are actually in a shot, and how many shots do you give? How many pours is that? I mean, like, there's an education behind everything. And so these are some trades that perhaps you haven't considered. So then what's the difference between continuing education, um, between trade schools? I'm sorry, that should be trade schools. And how is that different from college? So here's a great graph that will just kind of follow each chess piece, okay? So the average time for most trade schools is about 12 months to 2 years. So 1 to 2 years is about how much it takes. And depending on the trade, it can be shorter. Like, for example, if you want to be a physical trainer, that takes 3 to 6 months actually for you to get become a certified personal trainer, and then you can begin going and taking clients and teaching them how to lose weight. Now, that's one of those fields that will require continuing education. While you're certified as a personal trainer, you may want to now get a certificate as a dietitian so that you can help them with their nutrition as well as their fitness. So again, from our continuing education conversation, you want to be a lifelong learner, but when it comes to most trade schools, it takes anywhere from a year to 2 years, whereas college, just for you to get a bachelor's degree, can be 4 years. And if you want more than a bachelor's degree, then it's going to take longer. As things take longer, it requires more money, correct? So if you come to the average cost of trade schools, they can run up to $33,000. Again, on the certification side, like for example, if we stick with the fitness trainer one, you could find a $500 certification class. That's a lower type certification, but you can find some that are $5,000 that are more recognized in the industry as well. So if you're trying to be an electrician, for example, it's going to take about every bit of that $33,000, but it'll take you directly into the workforce at the end of that. Whereas college career will accumulate many thousands of dollars. And if you have to have a graduate degree after that, then you're looking for at even more and more and more money. And I'm not saying this to deter one or the other. I'm just simply telling you the difference between the two paths, that trade schools cost less and it takes less time than college does. The environment that you learn in is completely different as well, right? So in a class of a college class, in lectures, there might be some hands-on experience where you might teach some things, but college is really all about theory, the information that you need behind something. How does something work? Why does it work that way? How come we don't do it this way versus this way? What are the conversations around this particular industry? And you really don't get the hands-on expertise that you need until maybe your senior year of college, if you get an internship someplace, and then you have to kind of go on to grad school, particularly if you want one of those degrees like something in the medical field, or something you want to be an attorney. Whereas for a trade school, from the moment you're there, you begin hands-on, practical, actual work that you would do in the field. So if you're an electrician, yes, you learn the theory behind how electricity works, but at the end of that, you're going to put your hands on some wires and figure out how they connect and follow the circuit and things like that. So that's a benefit to trade schools. There's the chances of somebody starting a trade school and dropping out, very slim. Why? Because trade schools lead directly to employment, and people who go to trade schools typically go there because they want to work and they want to work soon. Now, for college, the longer you spend there, the more time there's chances things can go wrong, right? You run out of money, you know, you get pregnant, have a child, maybe get married, maybe you relocate, maybe, the professor that you wanted to take isn't there. Things just change. And the longer you spend on something, the greater a chance there is that you may not finish. So there's a higher dropout rate for college graduates than there are people who tend to go to trade schools, because this is going straight towards what you're looking to do, and it gets you right there working towards it. Um, Job security. So for trade schools are typically more trades that are learned at trade schools. Those that have typically has better job security, meaning that if you're trained to be an electrician, as long as we have electricity, chances are you'll always have a job in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes when you get a college degree, that job can be sent to another country. That whole industry can change and disappear. So many things can happen where the job security isn't as great. And if you add degrees that are just unemployed, and it's like I did all this work because I was told I would go to college and should go to college to get a job because I'd always have a job if I had a degree. But now, industries have changed. I posted a picture on my social media of a gentleman hanging out of an airplane shooting. I think I shared this with you once. Videographer, right? A cameraman. and he's shooting a wonderful landscape or something happening below. And that's why the helicopter's above this particular scene so that he can shoot down. Both those jobs are gone now because a single drone can fly up and take a picture of a landscape. So I don't need a helicopter pilot and I don't need a cameraman. And so sometimes industries can just disappear and change or outsource it or find a more effective way for them to operate, but it affects you. And most of those are from college graduates. But let's talk money. If you have a job, how much can you make? Of course, if you get a college degree, you tend to make more money. The reason in that is because on the HR side, the human resources side, every time you fill out a job application, they ask you all of these questions, right? They're not just asking you about your work history and your certificates and your degrees and your diplomas because they want to know that you have them. Those may very well be the requirements of the job, but also every box that you check means that you get a little more money with each box, right? So, okay, I need 5 years experience. You have 10 years experience, little more money. I need at least a high school diploma. Oh, you have a bachelor's degree, a little more money. And they just check off more and more. So a graduating from a trade school is considered from a human resources side just a little less valuable than somebody who spent that extra time and extra money and extra investment in going through the college route. Again, this isn't a judgment as to which one is better or not. It simply is the way it is. Okay. So that's kind of the difference between trade schools and traditional college. It's just the route you take and the ultimate conclusion that would be reached is it's shorter, it's a hands-on environment, it's going to cost you less, but you'll also make less in the end versus college. So now that you know what a trade school is and you know the difference between trade school and college, well, where do you go to find a trade school? Very simply, Google. That's where you go to find everything, right? Yes. Google your industry and your state, and they'll pop up all the trade schools that are near you. So let's say your industry is construction. So you would type construction trade school, Maryland, and all the construction trade schools that are available and programs that are available to you will pop up. And then you can begin to kind of look and see who meets what qualifications from that. Okay. Also, you can call a local trade union. Now, not all trades have unions, but many of them do. So, for example, construction, um, electricians, plumbing, HVAC. These are trades that have unions, and what a union simply is it's an organization that protects you. So they'll negotiate contracts for you if there's a dispute with your employer or somebody or who's holding the contract on a job. They'll represent you. They'll make sure that you get a certain amount of money guaranteed. And so these unions often have programs attached to them because they're looking for new people to come in. So if you know that you want to be an electrician, find the local electrician trade union in your area, contact them and say, hey, how do I become an electrician? What programs do you suggest? Because sometimes they're connected to a program that they pull the graduates from, they pull their employees from. They know this program, they know this program is good. And so the second somebody graduates from this program, they immediately give them a job. So it's good to talk to the trade unions as well. Also, local workforce development agencies for Montgomery County is WorkSource Montgomery, and they can let you know some of what's available out there. And then also LCMC, we have a community coach program that we're starting, and I'm going to ask Raul to kind of unmute and talk about that for a second.
So very soon, this month, we will start a community coach program. And for those of you who are very interested in applying for a job or applying to college, the community coach program that we will start, you will be assigned to somebody who's going to guide you through each of those steps that you need to find that job you're interested in, or how to apply to that college you want to go to. You can take up to, one session for 2 hours or 2 sessions for an hour each. But basically, it's about a 7 to 8 week commitment, and they're going to help you with your job searching process or how to apply to a college, or in this case today, a trade school as well. So if you have any questions, then please send me an email. Probably have it now, but I'll leave it in the chat box. And I can answer any questions you have. And as soon as we're ready to assign you a community coach, then we're going to do that.
Yep. So that's
Raul,
definitely-
are they free?
Yes, totally free. Just like everything we want to offer you.
Thank you.
just an additional person to help kind of support you in your goal that will make sure, if you say your end goal is to be an electrician, to kind of walk through the benchmarks that would take you towards that and help you support you in your effort to get there. So it's just another way we're looking to serve you. But these are the best ways for you to find a trade school. Later on, I'll give you some questions that you should ask yourself about that way help you also determine which trade school would work best for you. So how do you pay for a trade school? Well, that's always the question, right? How do we pay for this thing? Well, I would start again. We love Google University, right? Google scholarships for your industry. So if you are going again to be an electrician, Google electrical trade scholarship or electrician trade scholarships. You will find a ton of them that come out, particularly if you are in a minority group. So there's not an overwhelming amount of female electricians, for example. And so there are some scholarships that are specific to women who want to become electricians because they're trying to get more women in the industry. There's not a lot of women or women of color who are in the STEM field, the science, technology, electronic, engineering, and mathematics field. So those types of things, which electrical engineering falls under, are scholarships are out there. You just have to kind of Google them, and they'll pop up, and then it's a numbers game. If you apply to 100, you'll probably get 10 responses. So you have to just continue, but they're out there. You just have to look. Unfortunately, it's not always one central location like you have for colleges, and you see my point at the end. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But also ask your employer, particularly if you're going to this trade school, to better your position in the industry that you're already in. So let's say you work in hospitality and you're part of the cleaning crew at a hotel, okay? But you want to go into being that front desk person or even a hotel manager. And so within hospitality, within that organization or that whoever owns that hotel, they may be looking to elevate from within their organization. So if you ask your employer, if I go to this school, will you move me up in this organization? And they say yes. The next question is, will you help me pay for this? Is there something within the organization that is for employees and continued education? Seek private student loans. Again, churches, community-based organizations like ours, nonprofits often have student loans that they can offer. They're usually small amounts, maybe $500 here, $200 there, $1,000 here, but it is definitely something that can help. And always ask for payment plan options for whatever trade school that you choose. Also, a lot of times when you go to a trade school, because it's private, the first thing they're going to do is try to make you take out a personal loan. Be careful of that. We've talked about banking before, so you might want to review some of that. Make sure you exhaust all other resources before you attempt to take out a personal bank loan, because it's not connected to them. All they care about is, are you paying monthly like you're supposed to? Are your payments on time? Did we get our tuition money? They don't, the trade school does not care if you default on a loan with your bank, if you can no longer pay it with it, they don't care. And so by extending yourself to that degree, if you're not capable of it, you could potentially lose your education and mess up your personal finances with this personal loan. So make sure you exhaust all your other resources before you talk about getting a personal loan at a bank, but it is an option. You can also apply for program scholarships and grants within that school. Most of them have something that they will offer based, usually it's based on income. And it's always important for you to ask them what type of scholarships can I apply for your program. What's important to note is that no federal aid is available for trade schools. Again, I told you most of them are private, not state owned, not federally owned, which means federal money is not coming to them. Now, many of them get federal money, particularly to handle educating certain populations, but they don't accept FAFSA. You can't fill out a FAFSA to get money to pay for a trade school. It doesn't work. Excuse me, it won't work. They do not accept that. So all of these other private and personal options are what you have to look at, which is why that scholarship is super important. So then, now that we know what trade schools are, we know the difference between trade schools and colleges, we know how to pay for them and where to find them. Question is, are trade schools for you? When you think about colleges, just basic continuing education opportunities like certificates or licenses, are they for you? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. For everyone watching this, you're going to have a different answer for yourself. But here are some things that you need to think about for you that will help you kind of determine if they're for you. Think about your goal first and foremost. Is your goal to start a completely new career? Is your goal to have something that you can work part-time? Is your goal to better yourself in your existing industry? What's your goal? Once you know that, this is a question that's not really necessary, but I put it there because I just believe that you should work your passion. What is it that you love to do? Because you can get a job and work and work and work for 60 years to retirement and never do anything that you love, when you probably could have been getting paid to do something you enjoy for those 60 years. So not just what your goal is, but think about what you love to do, because that may lead you to a different trade or even up a completely different path than you might have thought you needed to go. How much time do you have? Again, I told you trade schools can take 2 years or less, whereas college takes longer. Is this something that you need to turn over and turn around quickly? You need to see some results in quickly, or do you have time to invest in your education? And how much money do you have? Do you have $500 where you need to look at a certificate program, or do you have a couple $1,000s where you can go into a trade school, or do you feel like you need to take out a full-blown loan and go into a college program? Ask yourself, is the field in demand? Because again, if you look at your time constraints, if you say, I need something to turn around right now, and you go try to be a wind turbine person, it's just going to take a little longer, for you to do that, than what you might want to do, because the field's not completely in demand. It's needed, but it's not in demand. So you might want to go towards an industry that's kind of looking for somebody right now. It's looking for people right now. Is the field disappearing? That's super important because, so for example, let me think of a field that's disappearing. Um, oh, you know what? Um, Barb was mentioning earlier about cars. So auto mechanics of the past, if they did not continue their training, are becoming obsolete now. They're looking at a car that they've never seen before. They're looking at a car that has a CPU. It's completely computerized. And so where, this particular pipe ran to this wire and made this whole thing move, Now, did this chip fail? Like, it's a completely different field now than it used to be. Changing tires, changing oil, that's still the same. Making an engine run is now a scientific process. So if you just wanted to kind of be what we used to call a grease monkey and just get dirty and get your hands wet and grab a wrench and move some things around, um, that type of auto mechanic is really disappearing as these cars get older and older and put out of market. Over the next few years, EV, electrical vehicles, they're going to take over. So you won't even need gas in a car anymore because everything will be plugged in. So these types of field are disappearing. If you're entering a field now, you need to think about this field in 5 years as well. But you also don't want to spend a lot of time training yourself for a field that's going to be gone soon, unless you're training yourself for the next iteration of it. Is a degree, certificate, or work experience more valued in your career? If I am looking for a nurse, um, a real nurse who can help me take my insulin shots, I may not want somebody who went to a certificate program. I might want somebody who went to college, a nursing school. So you need to ask yourself about the industry, which one do they value more as well? If you're determined to be in healthcare and you want to be your goal is to be in a particular place in healthcare, then you absolutely want to think about what do they want of me and not just what do I have to offer. Because a trade school might not do it, but a trade school may do it depending on what the industry says and what your goal is and what programs and schools are available to you. Again, if you have to stay in Maryland, but you really want to be a wind turbine technician, it's just not going to happen. That program's not available to you here. The solar power programs are, and some other eco programs are, but not that particular one. So you kind of have to think about that as well. And as you think of all these questions, you can determine kind of which path is best for you of all the paths we've talked about. Is it college? Is it continuing education? Is it trade schools? And you can even throw a third one in there, entrepreneurship. But for you to be able to run a business on your own, you kind of have to be a master in a particular industry. So where are you going to get your education about those industries? These are just some things to think about for you to kind of have answers to. And then, maybe get a community coach with us and bring those answers to them and let them kind of help you through it. Or you can kind of answer those questions on your own and determine this is the best path for me. Let me figure out how to get it done. So then you can decide whether or not trade school is for you or not. Everything from construction to electrical engineering to nursing to hospitality to culinary to any and everything that you might desire to be. Any questions about all of this?
Denise, I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
So all these community colleges, are they non-profit or they are owned by the counties, or how do they work? And I'm sure the classes they offer uh, must be accredited, right? I mean, they are accredited uh, teaching schools, but are they non-profit or are they owned by the county? So let's say I live in Frederick County. Can I, if I want to take classes at Montgomery County, will, to, um, will I be paying more for the classes because I don't live there? How does that work?
Okay, you asked a couple different questions there. So I'm I'm gonna answer the first one first. When it comes to, they call them junior colleges, 2-year colleges, community colleges. If it's an actual community college, it is county run with help from the state. So there is a Frederick County Community College, for example. You can go there. You can go to Montgomery College, which is the same on paper. It's called Montgomery County College, Community College. Anything that ends in community college is run by that county with help from its overall state. You can go to any one of them. You probably will have to pay an extra fee for being out of county. And I don't want to say okay, if you're in that county, they cannot refuse you. That's the benefit, right? If you go to the University of Maryland, it's a state college, it's run by the state, but they can always say you don't meet these standards, so we cannot accept you. You don't have the SAT scores, or you don't have the grades, or, you know, there's too many people in this particular program already, and they can deny you. No junior college in a county where you reside can deny you. They have to allow you to take classes with them. Now, you have to take a placement test for them to decide where you fit and where you know, are you capable of taking this level class, but they can't deny you because they're run by the county that you pay taxes in. I'm not 100% sure about the fee or the eligibility requirements for out of county folks. I know people from out of county can take can take, for example, Arundel County or Frederick, like you said, can take classes in Montgomery County. I'm just not sure about how much that money difference is, but I'm sure there will be a fee attached to that. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Dennis.
No problem. Now, community colleges, by the way, you mentioned accredited. Um, they are the college itself does not have to be accredited, the entire college, but because it is state run, it is recognized by other colleges. County and state run is recognized by other colleges. Within it, the individual programs can be accredited in addition to the school. So if you're in a nursing program, that nursing program can have extra accreditation in addition to the school being recognized as well. That would look better as you attempt to move up into another school, um, compared to not being in that program. But if you compare community college, to a trade school, yes, you can rest assured if you take a nursing program at Montgomery College, it is better received by the industry than if you take a nursing program with, I don't know, Nursing Alliance Incorporated. Okay. Nursing Alliance might be accredited, but on paper, it will look better from Montgomery College than it will from Nursing Alliance. So it depends. In Nursing Alliance, which is a school I just made up, by the way, um, it can only take you so far, whereas the college can take you to a certain point and show you the doorway to more. So again, it depends on what you're looking to do, what your goal is, how much money you have, and how much time you have, to go on the path towards achieving what you want to achieve. I think I answered everything.
Yes, you did.
All right.
Babak has a question too.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
sorry. Thank you for your, I have learned a lot from you. Thank you for teaching. I have two questions. One is I tried to, about the physician assistant at Houston College, and they told me um, because you have passed the courses most than 10 years, you should take them again. And my question is if I want to take them again, basic science. I mean basic science. I should apparently I can't take a loan. Yes, I can take a to get the courses to get the courses. I can't get the loan. That I have heard about it. What's your
Get a
idea?
loan from who?
For example, the for main basic science, the prerequisites courses they need to for PA, physician assistant.
Okay, so two things. One of the biggest challenges that many of our students have is that they come to us. I'll say many of our students who are not native born. In other words, the country of origin is something other than America, but they come to us as professionals in their country. And what happens is the standard that America sets for many of its industries is higher than their original country of origin. So they find themselves starting from scratch or completely having to do a completely different industry. That's not always required, but because they're not familiar with the system, they kind of fall into that. So for example, I had a student who she was a gynecologist in her country, full gynecologist, delivering babies, doing surgeries, everything. And she came here and I'm a doctor. And they're like, no, you're not. And if you want to be, you have to go back to school completely from scratch, forcing her to be a home health aide and, you know, for minimum wage, take care of one person versus having a full practice and being able to take care of her family. And part of her challenge was that she didn't realize the path to, one, transferring a lot of her education from her country here so that when she did enter into college, she would already be ahead. She wouldn't be starting from day one. She would probably have 2 years worth of experience. She could come in as an international student and really start from a higher place than she thought. So transferring education, transferring work experience. We had another student who was, she had a advanced degree in, Raul might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but finance or computers or something. I'm talking about Zhurong. And was, she wasn't working for a very long time at all. And she was tutoring at her local church, tutoring students to learn English Chinese, if I remember correctly. And it was simply being able to sit with her and show her how to present her experience in China in a American resume, so that people can see that it transfers from what you were doing professionally with 3-4 degrees there can also work for you here. So, you know, it sometimes it's getting your educational documents and presenting your work experience in a way that an American employer can understand it, that can help push you to a more advanced level than having to start from scratch. So to your question, for a physician assistant, you're going to have to go to college. We know that. And you should be able to take out a loan to pay that. Though, again, I would encourage you to make sure that's the last resort for you to do. Exhaust all scholarships, exhaust all grants, exhaust everything. Do your FAFSA before you go looking for a personal loan. But also make sure that when you enter that educational opportunity, that you're entering at the highest level you can, and you're not just starting from scratch because somebody told you you had to.
Okay, thank you. Was one of my friend, my classmate, university classmates, that who is living in the California. He told me he has to, he had to take a loan, but I'm not sure. I can't take.
But do you know where he went? Did he go to a trade school or he went to college?
No, to take the basic science again. I'm not sure which.
So if depending on who he spoke to, if, for example, if I work at a bank and you ask me how to pay for college, I'm going to tell you to take a loan. So you have to make sure to start with the place that you want to go. So if you want to take a basic science class, by the way, we teach science, just saying, in our college graduate class. But let's say you want to go to Montgomery College and take a science class, I would talk to the Montgomery College financial aid office first and ask them what their options are, what any options are that they can suggest to you. And then once you've exhausted all of those resources, if you have to take a loan to pay for it because you can't afford it yourself, then you may have to take out a loan. But if it, depending on who you talk to, they're going to tell you what's going to benefit them the most. And a lot of times when people think, how am I going to pay for something? And they think, let me go to the bank because that's who has the money. And when you ask the bank, you know, how can I pay for school? They're going to show you all of their banking products, which typically include a loan. But you can do federal financial aid, which is a type of loan that you pay back. Those terms are much better because you don't pay them back until you finish school. For example, you don't start payments until you finish school. Times like right now, where you know there's no financial aid penalties or the percent, the fees, you know, they're not accumulating right now during this COVID time. So you just have more flexibility when you're dealing with the federal financial aid loans. But again, check with the financial aid office about all of your options. Google scholarship and grant opportunities and exhaust all of that before you, and of course, look at your own personal finances. You might be able to afford one class, but go through all of that before you take out a loan.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Denise,
Thank you.
I think Anne's trying to talk, but I lost you.
week that we did,
And you broke up. You got to start over.
about, you know, the order that you and scholarships and what have you from college, if you're thinking about college. Were you here that week? Because you may not have. Raul could send you that. That's a lot of information, I think.
So she broke up, but I'm pretty sure she said during the weeks, they did a 3-week series of college and how to pay for it. And if you weren't in those 3 weeks, then Raul can send you the links to the video. So just let Raul know if you missed that information, and he can send you that information.
I think another hurdle we all immigrants have is that regardless of how many years of experience you have in your countries, they want you to start all over again. That is, I can see that. But at the same time, when you apply for a job, they want experience here in this country. So what you have done back home, it's not counted. But so what happens to us is that, I mean, I should have a job to start with. You know, when they say you need so many years of experience, but I need my first job to at least show that I can, you know, I have worked. So that is a biggest hurdle I faced when I started working for initially. That was the first time, my first job. I had to take up something that was so below my education just to show that I have 6 months of experience at such and such place.
Yeah, it definitely is a hurdle. It's not an impossible hurdle. It can be a frustrating hurdle when you've put in so much time and energy in your country of educating yourself and everything. But it's not an impossible hurdle. Much like I said, oftentimes it's not understanding the system and kind of what folks are looking for. And the beauty of having people like Raul and myself and our other instructional staff is that they can say, hey, fix your resume and say it like this. And that can open up an entire world. Or, hey, let's sit down and do an interview so that in practice interviewing, which we're going to actually do, is it next week we're starting or after housing, Raul, that we're starting practicing interviews?
After housing.
Okay, so in a couple of weeks, we're going to practice mock job interviews. And sometimes it's simply how you present yourself. And that will raise questions in the mind of the person interviewing you. They can look at your resume and say, oh, you have this, 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 and this. And then when you sit in front of them, they lose confidence because they feel as though you won't be able to relate to their employee, their customers, or maybe you won't be able to articulate to their clients certain things, different things. And so with us able to assist you, it sounds like you've already passed that point, but whoever needs that help to make sure you understand our community coaches, how to navigate the system. Again, it might not get you right where you were just yet, but it can definitely put you higher than starting over. Because I mean, the system isn't set up where it's saying anybody who comes in America has to start over. That's not really what they're saying, but that feels that way because it feels like everything, you won't accept anything I've already done. You won't accept that I know this information. And the truth is, it's not that they won't accept it, but you just have to present it in a way that they can recognize it and then they can accept it. And it's just not knowing the system is a challenge. And then, yeah, it might be, hey, I got to intern with somebody for free for 6 months so I can prove that I have this experience. And then I'm right in there. Or enter an apprenticeship program where I serve as an assistant and I learn underneath somebody so that I know they'll hire me afterwards. I mean, there's so many different routes to get to that point. But when you're coming from another country and you just have no idea of how that system works, but you had an expectation that you're going to be able to start, because I'm going to be quite honest, I'm on this side of it. I was born and raised in America. I have relatives who are from, Sierra Leone and, different parts of the world. But the belief from the American side is that they're telling the world, come and you'll have a better life in America. And if that is, I'm not saying it is, but if that is the perception that you enter into a country with, that this is the land of opportunity and I can succeed, then the second you hit that wall, it's going to feel like, ah, man, they won't let me in. Why won't you let me in? I have all this. I should be able to succeed here because I was able to succeed back in my own home country. And the truth is, you can succeed. You just have to relearn the system as it is here, and that's how people like Raul and myself and the other instructional staff can support. But it's not a goal. It the goal is not to force you to start over and kind of build you up in this American model. We are, in fact, this land of opportunity. We are, and to the extent that people who are born and raised here don't even take advantage of half the stuff that's available to them because there's so much opportunity. The key simply is understanding the system and being able to work within it so that you can get the result that you're looking for. And if you don't know what the system is, just listening to the first person to tell you, you need to do this, you need to do that, and not really doing your research or asking multiple people or finding that person that you can shadow or be mentored by who has the insight or information is going to always put you at a disadvantage and make you feel like, I'm working, like you said, beneath where I was, and that can be a hit to self-esteem. That can get you stuck for years. That can make you financially crippled to where you kind of even second guess whether it was worth coming. I mean, there's so many different things that can trickle down from that. So just make sure you have support here with us, Raul, myself, and the other instructional staff to walk you through this process. But you do not have to start over again. It might be lower than where you were initially, but it's not a complete start over unless you don't arm yourself with the information and insight.